Hello and good day. We are going to do bevel setting today. So I've got these 4 razors that I'm going to get ready set. I'm going to take them up to 5,000 so I can use them to test stones. I figure it's good to have like a constant. Like I could just use one razor. I know I could, but then it'll slow me down testing my stones. So because I've got so many stones, I'm going to get all these 4 ready. And I reckon all I have to do is use all of them once and then get them up to 5,000 again, another go, and then I've kind of nailed it with getting a lot of my stones done, and then I can just go back to using, I've got like a test razor, so I can just go back to using that one. I just need to get some of these stones tested because my drawer's nearly full now, and it was never my intention to have loads of stones in a bloody drawer without me testing them. So we're going to get doing it, and the first phase of that is I need to get one of these set and honed up to 5,000, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to get this set. So hang on, let's have a quick look at the edge. Just look what we're starting with. Yep, there we go. Hang on, let me get the old Morton cheap side. I've had quite a few of these razors over the years. I think I've actually got 7 days set upstairs that I've not even touched yet, in a nice oak case. Not all the scales are the same though from memory, and as you can see we've got quite a shiny kind of edge, but we've got lots of problems with the very apex. I'll have a quick look at the other side just to make sure we've got no pitting or like the spots of black death, as I like to call them. Let's try and get some sort of focus where it's reflecting back. There we go. Yeah, so it looks like we've got quite an easy-ish sort of edge to get going on with that. So what we're going to do, I've got it here, no, it's just over there. We're going to put some tape on it, and I'm just going to use the same process on all of them. If it cuts the tape like that, you know it's half decent edge. I wanted to use these as well because they're stabiliserless, and they've got what's called, or at least what some people call, a convex grind. And all it really means is it kind of means you can't have any problem with the old stabiliser interfering with the honing. So in theory they should probably just be a little bit easier to hone. Good metal. Like I said, I've had quite a few of these Morton cheap side, and they've always been good. So I expect the same. That's another reason why I wanted to use these really. We're still recording, aren't we? That's always handy. 50 minutes, 50 seconds worth. Let's just give it some old rough sort of treatment in a way. So bevel setting on my 1,000 stone, I always call it rough setting. I always go leading. I never just scratch it like that because I've damaged the very apex of edges before. So I always still just do the leading edge. Each to their own though, man. Many ways to skin a cat. Let's just give it a good old sort of rough rub. Don't need to be too precise at this stage. We're just going to see what we're hitting and what we're not. Again, you don't need to use a microscope. You can get a camera loupe. I recommend getting one at about 10 times to start with, and then when you want to go into more detail you can get one at about 100. The 10 times scope will just give you a good sort of overview instead of getting too close and too nitty picky. Let's have a quick little look at that, see what we're hitting and what we're not. When it's a sunny day, it's not as easy where I'm stood to see the screen, but we're nearly hitting the very apex, aren't we? Still a bit bitty in places, not perfect. But kind of overall, it looks like it's going to be a relatively easy. I'll be able to see this side a little bit better, I believe. The way the sun hits it. Yeah, it's definitely improved, hasn't it? We've got no major, a few little chips right in the middle there, but there's no major chips or anything, is there? Tiny bit of shadow in there. It's not really hitting that part that great, so I'll side that. It's the face near the toe. So let's just give it a bit of finger fun. This stage I am sort of applying a little bit of pressure, but if I didn't have any of them tiny little microchips at all I wouldn't be. It'd be quite a kind of light touch. As I've said many a time, I generally kind of keep the same sort of pressure through my stones. I guess I do lighten off a little bit when I get to the natural stones, but it's almost like autopilot really. See, my bevel setting process is this stone, rough set, and then I've got my 1500 stone now as well that I'm enjoying using, and that just, well, refines the edge, and then obviously the 2000 just refines it more. But setting the bevel up to a 2000 grit, it really will show you, especially on the microscope, any problems. Like at this stage, sometimes this stone can still hide a few problems. Well, for instance, I've had a razor recently that had a crack just there, and I didn't see the crack because it was so fine till 5000, because it was so fine. But it did show me a little bit at the 2000 when I looked back and had a look at some of my microscopes, because I did actually film some of it. Very hidey kind of crack. I shaved with it, still, it's a wonderful razor. Thankfully the crack's right at the end of the heel here. Just don't bother it. I kept an eye on it, sort of thing, while I was honing. And so if you get a cracked razor, it don't mean it's a complete dud straight away. I've actually got a Hengel's upstairs, it's got a crack there, but it don't really bother it. As long as, like, I just figure you have to go a little bit lighter with them, so you're not kind of separating the crack. But I'll shave with it. quite a stiff razor as well. If it was a mega thin hollow grind, could give you a little sort of pinch, couldn't it, on your hair, I guess. Wouldn't be too pleasant. But there's times you can still save them, still use them. Right, I'm kind of imagining this is okay to go to the 15. Yeah, tape's done. Eats the tape quite good on these 1000 Shapton Pros. Shapton Pros are considered a bit sort of coarser than some other brands. Every brand's different. And if you get some Chinese ones, every stone's different within the same brand. Alright, so I'm going to have a little look. Let's go the other side because we're focused on that side. Cool, isn't it? Yeah, so why did we have a few of them little tiny chips? A tiny bit of shadow in there. Got a bit better towards the toe in it, but it's not perfect. But we're not really looking for perfect at this stage. And like I said, this 1000 does create a bit of a toothy edge. But yeah, I'm gonna go some more on this. I'm gonna go a few more. Not totally happy with just moving forward on that one yet. Some of like the old steel don't so much like these sort of Shapton Pro 1000. You can actually get like forms of breakout. So for instance, if you've got like an old wedge, you know, it's old, likely sort of like cast steel, and you're, you know, like say you're honing with Captain tape or without the tape, so the apex is it's kind of at its finest to do with the geometry from, you know, the relationship from bevel, apex, spine. Yeah, on this stone you can still get a tiny bit of breakout where the edge has gone just too thin to deal with the stone, but you can sort it out with a bit of tape, or you can just move up a stone and it kind of gets rid of the problem a little bit. But I found that some wedges, you know, kind of need tape basically, and I've been reading a lot about it, and I've found like really old razor like treaties and stuff, and they say about, you know, some of the wedges don't need to have their spine on the stone basically, almost like you're hovering it, but we can just use tape instead of trying to hover it to stay more constant. Some of the wedges I've been working on recently, I've gone up to 3 bits of tape, like the actual, not this tape either, the Scotch, the M3, no sorry, the 3M 33 plus, and they're popping hairs like nobody's business. It's actually one of my next shaves, one of them. So most of the damage was kind of at the toe area, so let's just put a bit extra pressure, because we're kind of at the grinding stage, trying to get the razor set nice for the next phases. All these razors sit lovely on the stones. And it's certainly not a soft Sheffield steel. Because they're a Sheffield, like what I call a Sheffield grind, they just do not flex as much as some hollow grinds. There's a good bit of stiffness in them. I'm going to have another coffee when I've done this, as long as I've got time before I pick up the little one. As you can see, we've got a lovely sunny day here today. It's just a beautiful time of the year. I really do enjoy this time of the year. You start getting hot days and, well, get more spring in your step. I'll start doing some more of my weight training again this month. I bought this little hand exerciser. So years ago I used to be quite into my hand strength and stuff. I've got, like, for my size, I've got quite strong grip, and it's to do with a muscle. I forget what muscle it is anyway, but I've got quite a big muscle there basically. So I've always been interested in hand strength, and I used to have loads of the, like the old spring things, and I've got some of the ones that like really hard to shut, and I've kind of mastered all them. But I was just looking through eBay the other day, looking at like old strongman stuff, and because I like the old school strongman stuff. I don't like lifting dumbbells so much and barbells and that. I like mace balls and just metal balls and stuff like that. And I come across this spring steel one. So it's just a piece of spring steel. It's like that, goes like that, and then comes the other way, just covered in a nice piece of bit of like leather. So I've got one of them. I forget the name now. So I've been playing with that. It's been fun. Yeah, but I'm going to get the mace balls out probably next week. Start chucking and swinging them around. And I've got to buy some bigger balls. Just steel balls. I will show you actually what I do with them. So I've got these steel balls, and they're 62mm across, and you just get them in your hand and you just keep rotating the balls. Like when you first start doing it, you can't do it too good, but once you get the hang of it, I tell you mate, it's such good sort of like hand strength training. It really is, because it's so natural to what your body wants to do, and you can just hold two of them and sort of do that and try and move them around. They're bloody heavy, you know what I mean, like on your hands anyway. But I've got to the point now where I need a bit more weight in them, I can move up sort of thing. But it's actually quite hard to find steel balls. I've got them raw as well, so they were black, and my hands were getting black for like weeks using them, but now they're all shiny. And it's quite a nice way of doing it, like quite a sort of like a bit of an organic kind of way of using them. So they started kind of like from their birth of out of the fire, if I can kind of say that. And they're all shiny, and you don't get your hands black at all anymore. They're really shiny. And I've done that just from my own sort of play with them. I'll show you in my next video. Right, sorry, let's press record, there we go. Yeah, we're getting rid of some of them little, yeah, even towards the tie. Let's just have a look at the other side. Yeah, I can really see where the actual serrations now. More going over the edge. It's not brilliant there still though, that's on the face at the toe. But we'll see what the next stone does. Because this is a nice stone, this 1500. I still prefer my 2000, but it's a good stone. Like all Shapton Pro stones are good. Well, I say it all, but I did have somebody contact me on YouTube saying about how he's got 12,000 stone and it's like scratching and stuff. And I was like, well, you've definitely got a defective stone, yeah. Well, I need to actually contact him and see if he got it sorted. Because 12,000 Shapton Pro is, well, it's damn near mirror really. You know, if you have a real good go on the 8,000, that nearly mirrors it. But the 12,000, I think technically it's not classed as a mirroring stone, because that's what that 30,000's for, isn't it? But it's near a mirror to me. It's different noise, doesn't it? Still sucks up quite a bit of water, this stone. See, with this stone, I can just sit there and do that if I chose. I've never ever chipped the very apex of my edges with this stone or my 2000, even when I've put quite a lot of bloody pressure on it, like cause trying to get chips out there. It just, yeah, it's on that 1000. Only does it if you a bit of pressure and going backwards and forwards without lifting up. I still just prefer doing leading edge, I must say. I actually used the 120, so the 120 grit on razors the other day, which gives all sorts of people full on heart attacks, it seems. You can't use them on a razor, that's a grinding stone. But there is a time and a place to use them, and especially if you've got a microscope or you've got a lope, you know, like a lope that can kind of see what's going on. So it was a wedge. I had to bread knife it quite a bit because it had all these, well, it had them black dots of death, and it was a hell of a lot of, you know, material to use, lose. And I did. I started off on the 1000, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it's going to be here a month. So I got the 320 out and had a go on that. Is it 320? I think it is anyway. But the 300, we say, I got that out, and while it was doing it a lot quicker, it was still thinking, oh, it's going to take forever. So I got the 100 out and just started grinding on it, man, and it sped it up like massively. And the key is, you just don't go to the very apex with like the 120 and even the 300. You just don't go to the very apex, because some razors can handle that 320 and it won't chip out, like doing like gentle, like leading strokes. But then quite a lot of razors will still quite badly chip with a 320. So you can just judge it like through experience, and you just don't take it to the very finest of your, you know, your bevel, like to the apex. You're kind of just chasing up to the apex with them stones. It worked out. Feels like we're going through the tape a little bit. Nearly, but not quite. getting quite genuinely warm. Got a feeling that the toe is going to be the weak spot on this razor naturally. By looking at the water, it seems like the razor's quite good, but lacking a little bit on the toe. Generally, by the time I get to the 2000 sort of grit, I like to have like all of this kind of work done, if you know what I mean. Like, because in my head, like the 2000 is a bit sort of like the first stage of, I won't go as far as say as polishing, but I think you know what I mean. I've got to pick what untested stone I'm going to use first, really. Too many to pick from, but whatever one intrigues me the most, I think we're going to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise a slurry with my little tiny diamond plate, and we're just going to, well, go from a slurry to nothing, and then languish a few laps into the nothingness of slurry. So like a kind of clean stone, and yeah, see what kind of pattern, if any. Well, there'll obviously be a pattern, but you know what kind of stuff we've got going on, and then, well, just shave with it. I'm just gonna, unless I get like forms of like damage, you know, so it's not razor safe. As long as I can get it HHT in, like on the hole, I'll shave with it. But if I can't get it HHT, it means kinda it's just not worthy of being called a razor home. Have a look at this. Hopefully we can see a bit of improvement going on. Right, that's kind of nearly there, isn't it? It kind of looks it to me anyway. It's not perfect, I can see problems, but on the whole, striations are definitely going over the edge, aren't they? Again, sort of on the whole. Right on this sort of Let's have a look, see if we can't find a bit of focus on here. I think we are hitting it, aren't we? Up to there anyway, definitely. You can see it, that, and then just sort of. But I'm not bothered about that bit. Yeah, the toe's definitely not as good. The heel just there is not as good. It's kind of set all the way along there, it feels. Yeah, not so much on that toe. Let's give it a bit more time on this and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. On the 2000. Because these are not for me sort of at the moment, they're going to be my test razors. I'm just going to do a little bit of a cheat to speed things up. Like I said, I've got that many stones to kind of test. I'll be doing this twice with these 4 razors, so it'll be 8 razors. I kind of have to get ready for the testing, so I'm gonna cheat a bit. But it's a very viable cheat anyway. It's nothing new. Tape's about had it. Just have a very quick look at that. Can you really see that there? That. See the shadowing? Yeah, still not perfect on this toe. It's a bit better though. Right. Where's it gone? There it is. Whenever you use tape, just make sure you've got no bubbles in it, especially if they're on small. Right, so what have we done now? Well, we've changed the angle of attack, haven't we? So, mega thin tape, still relatively thin tape, but thicker. So what we're going to do here is we now should be definitely hitting the very apex, because we were very nearly hitting the very apex all the way along there, weren't we? I believe it was a little bit lacking on the toe, especially on the non-face side. But now we should be hitting it. I'll keep leaving that on. Turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. And the reason I'm just quickly doing a few laps on here is just because it speeds things up again. I could go straight to the 2000, but you might as well just quickly do a few laps on here. At least that's the way I figure it. Crash bang wallop. Right, so after not many laps, this should be nearly set. In theory, anyway. Really do enjoy this stone. It's got, to me, it's got nice feedback, and it tells me a lot about the metal. Stone, out of all my synthetic stones, it's the one that kind of is the best judge. It feels a little bit more consistent, I must say, doing that. Right. God, he blinded me. It's a bit tiny little black hole there, isn't it? Is it? Yeah. See, that weren't really showing up on the 1000. It's not the first time I've seen it, but I thought it was a little piece of fabric. yeah. See, it's not perfect. Like you can see the shadow there. It's not perfect. I'm gonna run a few more laps, but I don't care if it's lacking a little tiny bit on that very end. Yeah, still on that very toe. It's not perfect. But we've sort of moved it along, if you know what I mean now. If you look at it, that like it curves around quite a bit. Because I imagine when this was quite new, because this one out of most of them is the one with the most amount of homeware, I think. That one's got a bit of homeware as well, but this one's sort of like, well, the worst. I imagine when these were brand new, it didn't really have that little curly thing going around there. But some people like putting them on their razors because it helps them get into a particular part of their face, or just prefer it. And sometimes people do it unintentionally, but it's because of the way they actually hone. So if you hone one-handed all the time, you can impart a particular type of sort of grind upon your edge. I can't actually remember what it is, but it's to do with, because all the pressure's kind of at this end, isn't there? There's nothing at this end. It's not a problem. You probably not likely never notice it, but I'm not putting much pressure on my finger. It's just more sort of trying to tease that area into touching a little bit more. Just really focus it on that area. As you can see by the swarf, we're still cutting. And then the sun starts playing around with it a bit. Yeah, still a bit of shadow in there, but it's definitely a lot better. Yeah, it's quite consistently kind of grabbing. Right, I feel this is ready to chance on the 5000. I'm not 100% we can get it HHT all the way along on the 5000, but we'll give it a quick burn. I ain't going to bother filming it because I want this one to sort of be more about bevel setting. Right, I'm going to leave it at that. Going to see what we can do on the 5,000. Like I said, I'm not going to bother filming it, but I'll get it out to the 5,000 and then I can get using a stone and whatnot. So, alright, see ya. Have a good day.